This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
I am Dracula.
Hello, welcome back to the Graveyard Club. With so many horror directors out there that have made classics and also films that would inspire the genre as a whole, I thought it'd be a good idea to do a top 5. Now this is my list, so if you don't like it, you can go fuck yourself, or maybe drop a comment and give me your top 5. Anyway, here's my top 5 horror movie directors. In no particular order, I'm going to start out lightly. James Wan. Now, creator of Saw, Insidious, he brought us the Conjuring series. Not many modern directors are doing anything fresh and new, but James Wan is definitely one to mention. Creator of Saw franchise, which is now legendary, and more recent with his Conjuring movies, bringing supernatural horror back, and it's scarier than ever. And I'm telling you right now, Insidious 1 and 2 are probably the scariest movies I've seen in years, especially that second one. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. But yeah, the only thing about these, like the likes of James Wan, they move off their horror projects and they want to make like Marvel films and bigger movies, you know what I mean, like for more of that. But yeah, James Wan definitely belongs on the list. Very good director. And we'll move on now to Sam Raimi. With his super low budget movie Evil Dead, he quickly became one of the most influential directors of the time, showing that you don't need a big budget. You don't need $1 million to go and make an effective horror movie. He went on to do sequels, although they were a bit more campy and sillier than the original. But he's now really a popular director, like especially after he done them Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire. Everyone knows who he is now. So yeah, the last horror film he would have done was Drag Me to Hell in 2009. And he was only a producer on the new Evil Dead Rise that came out last year. So fans are patiently waiting for his return. And I hope he does come back. I want to see Drag Me to Hell 2, or I want to see him doing an Evil Dead himself. But I'm going to switch it up from the 30s. Todd Browner. He's most famous back in the 30s. He brought us the original Dracula with Bela Lugosi. That would have, I'm pretty sure that film was the one that started all the horror, the names and the titles, like Horror This and all that. Do you know what I mean? Like we have a lot to thank Todd Browner for. You know what I mean? Like, it was that first Dracula. Although, I'd prefer the Bride of Frankenstein, James Whale. You can almost put James Whale and Todd Browner in together, like, because what they done was very similar. Like, they brought, like, that kind of dark vibe, gothic vibe back in the 30s, like. But yeah, Todd Browner was known for doing the original Dracula. But he also done another movie that I really like called Freaks. And at the time, I don't think it done very good, but it's now regarded as a cult classic, like. So Freaks, yeah, I think from 1930. And it follows a carnival of freaks. So you remember what the Freak Show was like back in the day. Crazy film. This would be more of an exploitation film, if anything. But if you haven't seen it, definitely check that one out. And another one that you done, it was a silent film, London After Midnight. This is infamous now because it's now lost. And now I've done a bit of research. There's rumours of a private collector owning a copy over in Spain or Portugal, I think. But yeah, he directed London After Midnight, and he also made a remake of that film, I think later on in the 30s. So the same sort of film. I don't want to tell you too much about the story, just in case you are interested in, because the remake does tell you the story of the original London After Midnight. But yeah, Bela Lugosi's in the remake, so check that one out if you're interested in that sort of stuff. Now, you can't have a top 5 list without mentioning Tim Burton. Nightmare Before Christmas, Sleepy Hollow, Edward Scissorhands, you know, like a lot of the rest of the directors on this list, Tim Burton has a certain style, and when you watch one of his films, you instantly recognise it. Now, there's a film from the 1920s called The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and he fucking rips everything off it. It's brilliantly how he done. Nightmare Before Christmas inspired a lot of the animation films like Coraline, and there's a few others like that, has that kind of dark style. And then he obviously has more traditional style horrors like Sleepy Hollow. Now, I'm hoping with Beetlejuice 2 comes out, he comes back to do what he does best, because he done a few, I think he done a Wizard of Oz film, and it didn't turn out too well from what I remember. But I did like the Wednesday series on Netflix. I thought that was really good, and I'm looking forward to the next season of that. We're at the Magic 5 here, but I actually have 6 down, so we're going to talk about another 2 more. Tobe Hooper. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What can I say? Probably the most effective horror film I've ever seen. Way ahead of its time for its gritty look, the low budget. Tobe Hooper put that cast through fucking hell, and the final product just started a new age in horror again for the low budget. So I fucking love that film. Now people loved the sequel as well, but it's nothing compared to the original. I fucking love that original film. I think he did produce some of the later films as well, and some of the remakes. But he also done Poltergeist. That's probably one of the better supernatural horror films out there as well. A lot of modern films take away from that film as well. I think there was a series of them as well, but I'm not sure if he directed them all. But yeah, he works great with tight budgets. And wait, there was actually another one that he done called The Funhouse in the 80s. Kind of reminds you of like a Hammer film or something like that. You know what I mean? It kind of remind me of a Hammer film. Like if you 1982, go check that one out. That's a really good one. Now I know it's the top 5 list, but I have to add this director in. This could be one of my favourite directors. Terrence Fisher. He done all the good Hammer films. So he was one of the first directors to bring in that gothic style back into fashion. So remember we were talking about the Dracula from the 1930s. Like Terrence Fisher brought this back in the late 50s and 60s. And he was also one of the first to use like the sexual overtones. And in my opinion, that inspired a lot in the 80s slashers, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. I honestly think Terrence Fisher was the one who started all that with them old Hammer films. I'm telling you now. Dracula, the one from 1957 with Christopher Lee, that would start the whole new fucking thing for Hammer Productions, creating multiple series like the Frankenstein, the Mummies. I think there was a werewolf movie, all inspired by Universal monsters from the 30s and 40s. But Terrence Fisher done all the good ones. Shot with atmosphere, the actors, the costumes and sets, they were all top notch. And a lot of the other directors in Hammer actually took lead of that as well. You know what I mean? He was really good. Terrence Fisher, check him out. And if I could recommend any films by him, it'd be Frankenstein Created Woman, The Brides of Dracula, and The Devil Rides Out. But honest to God, you need to check them out. And that's my list. I know people are going to have different opinions on it, but yeah, I think that's a good list. Especially Terrence Fisher, Tobe Hooper, they were really influential. And I have to give Tim Burton a shout out. So definitely check all of them out. And if you made it this far in the video, I just want to say thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
I am Dracula.